It's Memorial Day weekend, and we are still mourning the loss of Lizzie here on the Spanish Princess After Show. King Henry has gone crazy, and he's gotten a new fiance. Stay tuned to find out now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome to the Spanish Princess After Show. I am your host, Sahai Wilson, and tonight I have three queens with me helping us with our show. We have Rachel, our historian.
Hey, everybody.
We have Carrie all in our comments and on the live chat.
What's up?
And we have Virginia with our news and gossip.
Hey, hey.
So, ladies, this episode, there was a lot going on and a lot to follow. People were being abducted. People were being sent away. What were your overall thoughts?
I was not that impressed this episode until the very end. I was like, okay, we can continue this story.
Yeah. I like that curveball at the end of, what? Okay. But yeah, it was a little bit slow. And man, Queen Mother, man, she has to be taken down fast.
Yeah, she does.
Gotta get her out of here.
I really started to see Prince Harry as being a very, you can tell going forward that he is also playing the game. And I question if he's playing the game with Catherine now, too.
I know. I was a little worried because in the beginning we see Harry, really liking Catherine, and it looks like their bond is growing stronger. But when they went hunting, which we'll discuss, it seemed like he was becoming suspicious of her.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go through what was happening in the episode. We have everyone's mourning the loss of Queen Elizabeth. She has now died, and her husband is taking it the hardest. He has not been seen by anyone in over a month. People think he's actually dead. And his mother is like, you know what? You can't get it together. I'm going to take over for you.
Not surprised.
She is hardcore.
She's like, I got this.
Yeah.
Do you think she did that because she wants to kind of make sure everything's still intact when her son gets his wits back, or she just likes being in control?
I think it's a combination of the control factor, and also she knows from her spies that there is a York rebellion rising up. And so she wants to make sure that somebody is there. Somebody needs to serve as the tutor head to make sure that nothing bad happens to their legacy.
Yeah.
And with this threat of this rebellion going on, it kind of leaves everyone on edge again. Like poor Maggie Pole, she just gets the brunt of this, which we'll discuss a little bit further. But I just feel sorry for her. She can't catch a break, basically.
Every time she tries to do something right, it goes wrong. And essentially when she gets kicked out, I was like, I think maybe that'd make her happy. She just doesn't want any of the drama and just wants to go live a quiet life.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I would not want to be in that household. The way that every time someone sees her, they're either yelling at her or telling her like how horrible she is. So kick me out. I'll go, live in the barn.
Yeah.
Speaking of barns, we'll also talk about the brewing romance between Lina and Oviedo, which we saw a lot get steamy, but also have its ups and downs in this episode. So let's start with Catherine and what was going on with her. We'll start there. We see she's helping console Harry because he's also really sad about his mother's death. And she compares him to El Rey the Matador, which she knew as a child. Did you feel like that was her being manipulative, or really like she really felt bad for him?
I think she does feel bad for him, but I think that she's been brought up in a world where you have to play things a certain way. And so she's not just giving him everything. Like, I think that she's holding back a lot. She doesn't want to give him so much that she's vulnerable, but she at the same time needed to give him something to help console him.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think she wants him to be strong, and so she's trying to instill that with him without like, oh, let me just hold you, like she's like, you can do this, and I think she's trying to groom him to be the king she wants him to be.
Agree.
Exactly.
I think, did you see how we saw that shot of Queen Isabella being stitched up after war? Like, if that's your mom, if your mom is a soldier, I'm sure, and you know how to shoot bows and arrows, crossbows yourself. Catherine they're still creating this strong character. So I feel like even with death, she's kind of like, I understand, but you have to think bigger picture. They're going to a better place. And I think she's also still focusing on her plan to marry Harry.
Yeah.
which we see has some twists and turns towards the end. I can't believe that. So then we have Lady Margaret throwing Catherine out of the house. What were your thoughts on that?
I like Hubby Joe in this chat says Lady Grandma needs to go. Lady Grandmom. And I'm like, yes, I agree. I mean, she's playing it smart. She goes, nope, let's get Catherine out of the castle. And because it looks bad for them, one, she's just like, I want to get her out. It's control over Catherine, and then also it probably minimizes the contact Harry has with her, which doesn't really matter, we've noticed in the end, because he goes as outside visitor, and he's like, you can't stop me. But, at least it's not quite as easy to bump into her. And I think it's just also a way for the Queen Mother to, kick Catherine to the curb in terms of, okay, you're going to live in this place that's much more beneath you. And, the slums, essentially.
I know.
Yeah, and kind of let's see how you're going to do, what are you going to do with that, Because I feel like that is, I feel like she really can tell how headstrong Catherine is. Yeah. And, she's like, okay, I need to take charge before she does. Because the thing with Harry is he's so young, and maybe not as young as he is supposed to be in real life, but, she can tell that he can be maybe manipulated. Yeah. And so she's like, if he's going to be manipulated, I'm going to be the one to do it.
And she says Harry is her protege.
Yeah, she does.
So she wants him to actually be more like her, and she sees him actually his heart softening, and I think that makes her afraid. Also, I loved how she tried to say that the marriage between Harry and Catherine would be biblically wrong.
I love his reply. Though. He goes, whoa, hold up. And actually, a quick rewind thing, and point out by Caitlin in the chat that El Rey was the bull, not the matador. So the bull was had been gorged, or the wounded multiple times, but did not die.
Okay,
it wasn't the matador. The matador was the one who. So essentially, Harry being wounded and does not fall
like the bull.
You're like the bull.
Okay, and so it was the bull that was pardoned.
Yes.
Got it. I got a little confused. I was like, who are we talking about here? The man or the animal? Thank you very much for that. So Harry also, like we were talking about, says, no, Grandma, biblically, it says that a man can take his brother's wife if if his brother dies. And I was like, ooh.
And their
he was ready with that Bible verse.
Yeah,
he did some research.
Yeah, but I think their relationship is very, I love the way it's unfolding, because you can tell he really respects her and she really loves him.
Yeah.
And I think with not that she didn't love Arthur, but you see that she, there was this place in her heart for him, because he wasn't going to be king. And going back to a previous episode when she was talking about that, it was like she knew he was special for some reason.
Yeah.
I think everybody had to step it up, because Henry was down in the dungeon looking at the lion, kind of going crazy, it just amazes me how, he's the leader, and we see him fall apart at this point in the show. Harry quoted Deuteronomy, and one of the things he also said to his grandmother was different roads can lead to the same castle, because in Harry's mind, he's like, listen, we still have to focus on the plan. We need to get this alliance with Spain. Let's stay on target. And I also win by getting a beautiful wife. So what, other things that are wins in life are watching various after shows on AfterBuzz TV.
And not only are you here on the drama channel, we have a lot of other channels as well. We have a sci-fi fantasy one. I know Game of Thrones just ended, and we all like our fantasy. They have, they're doing a recap episode of talking about the documentary Post, so you can go check that out on that channel. There's also reality, red carpet, animation, and make sure to click that thumbs up, subscribe button, 5 stars on iTunes. Let us know what you think about the show. Leave comments, please. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and what we're talking about, because it's so fun to hear all of your opinions as well, and it just helps us make us be better for you. And thank you for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. And then quick shout out to a couple chats from people who commented last week. We have the Queen of Regal, very appropriate name for our show. Happy Stars 234, Joanna Rodriguez, I am mine 428. Sorry if I pronounced these wrong. Elaine Smith and Hubby Joe. And then we also have today, we have Caitlin Ray in the chat, Caitlin A. and also we got Neela and a couple other people. And please feel free to chime in while it's live. If you watch it later, again, comment down below.
Thank you. I mean, the commenters always have like good extra information and tidbits, so we really appreciate it. So back to the episode. So Catherine and her crew have moved, Rosa and Lina, you know, and they're basically in an area that is not the nicest. They're hearing fights outside, you know, the furnishings are shabby and beneath her stature.
They are definitely beneath her station too, but she just, instead of being somebody who whines about it or somebody who just keeps constantly droning on about how it's not right for her, Catherine only pretty much mentions it once to Harry. Other than that, she pretty much just deals with it. And I feel like that's a huge testament to her as a person.
Agreed.
Because she basically is like, all right, well, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And if it means that, you know, I mean, I got kicked out, what else could she do?
Right.
So
That's a good point, yeah, because she doesn't sit there and whine about it.
Yeah.
She's very much a doer. Like, okay, this kind of sucks, but what can I do about it?
yeah. Yeah.
And I found it interesting that one part of Rosa's job was to find this additional housing for the crew, for Catherine and friends. And they had to kind of take what they could get, and they were put in this home. And then Prince Harry comes to visit. And
You mean Lina? I heard Rosa.
I'm sorry, Lina. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry.
Lina, Rosa's off busy.
Rosa
Getting busy.
is like, you know, I'm trying to get away from Stafford, but then she sees him and immediately runs over to him.
Is she trying?
No, she's not trying hard enough. But then I thought, why isn't she trying to hide this relationship a little bit more? Don't you think? I would think they would want to be more secretive about this
Or
affair.
at least he would be, because she's unmarried. So
Right.
it's going to make him look bad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Here's the question too. Does Catherine really not know what's going on? Because she keeps making passing comments like, oh, you guys are going to be married one day. Like as if she doesn't realize that what's happening right in front of her, not directly in front of her, but she has to have heard at least rumors that her handmaids are actually, you know, hooking up with other guys.
But who would tell her?
Well,
like
No, just her knowing herself of being like, wow, you guys seem to disappear a lot. Because we get the
see
one
that now.
shot in this episode
Right.
where she sees Lina.
Right.
I think she's so focused, Catherine's so focused on her own goals that she is oblivious to Rosa running off. And / you could argue her being of her level, not caring so much about the level beneath her.
Yeah, that's true
Because
too.
that might be like, I don't care about their day to day, whatever, as long as they're here doing what I need.
and then get
Which kind-
married
yeah.
to whoever she chooses.
Exactly.
She's like, you guys should be worrying about me. I don't need to worry about you.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. I like that. Especially since everyone's making out in dark hallways. So it's not like she's quite often privy to what's going on. It's
Right.
not in plain sight.
Except for today.
Yes.
Today's episode.
So she did see that this one time. What I found interesting was the way that Lady Margaret really, I think she wanted to take the place of Elizabeth now as the lady of the house,
The matriarch.
yeah, of the house now, and I think she found it like this was the death of her daughter-in-law was her way in to gain the power that I think she may have lost, and especially as an older woman feeling like, you know, no one's paying attention to her anymore, but she was like, hey, I'm ruling things now. And she even had she was holding the regular meetings and conducting business and trying to figure out, okay, how can we raise money because we still have not received the money from Spain.
Which, you know, this also, it like gave me flashbacks to, you know, Queen Victoria. Like her mom kind of tried to do the same thing, you know, because she wanted to be in charge of everything when, like, I mean, if you look back into the things that Queen Victoria went through before she was queen, it was crazy what her mom made her do. But, you know, there is always that, like, drive for power. Like, if you can be in charge of, you know, all of England, like you're gonna kind of do it probably, you know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I mean, she is the king's mother, but all the guys go, okay, no problem, and totally listen to her 100%. I thought at least one would be like, well, actually, or something, you know? And then also I was surprised the lawyer didn't go, oh yeah, we're gonna cut some of your money. which didn't happen.
I was surprised about the same thing, especially that as a female, she would stand up and nobody would say, oh, well, you can't be regent.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Game of Thrones, not to make a comparison there, but in Game of Thrones, even Cersei had problems when she stood up and said, yeah, well, I'm going to take control now. Oh, no, you sit down. Like, no one listened to her, but, Queen Regent,
they're all scared of her, so they go, okay, sure.
yeah, but Lady Margaret stands up. She's like, yep, I'm going to be regent. Here I am.
Okay.
Well, and the thing is, they all know that she has spies everywhere.
Yes.
I think that's part
Yeah.
of it. And then the other part that I think is, like, boys have such a soft spot for their mom. As a boy mom, I know that, like, over anything, my sons love me. Like, not that they don't love their father, but, like, I can do I can do nothing wrong in their eyes, So I feel like there's that angle that, like, if he's in this weird, depressed, thing he can't get out of, I feel like that, anything she says is going to, like, she's going to be the one to help him.
Well, even Harry, too. Like,
Yeah.
Harry's like, yeah, Grandma, everything you say is golden. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, she's put everyone against Maggie, so it's kind of like she's the go-to gal now. And again, I think everyone's living in fear. She has, like you said, she has the spies, and they could potentially not only like lose their jobs, but maybe lose their lives. So it's like a very tricky time. Speaking of Maggie, she doesn't. We don't see her in the beginning of the episode, but we see her returning. Where was she? Was she sent away after the death?
The queen said, "Go away, leave," and I don't think we see where she went. I think she was going home, which we saw her at home for a hot minute, and then it's like, "Never mind, Queen died. Come back."
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh,
Yeah. And then obviously she got the blame.
yeah."
No.
Yeah.
So then Grandma invites Maggie for not a tea, but some wine and snacks. And Maggie...
I was worried she'd get poisoned.
I know.
Yeah.
Maggie looked like she was worried she'd get poisoned, too.
I'd be like, Queen, you ate, Queen Mother, almost, yeah.
Lady
Margaret.
Lady Margaret. It's like, I want to see you eat it and drink it first.
Right.
Yeah.
They literally put focus on that,
the little
whatever it
piece.
was. Yeah. And then
Or is it too sweet, too? Because that could be a thing as well. Because it was a sweet, it's like an orange with sugar, so something too sweet, and her being annoyed by her. Because Pole is so genuinely nice, even though everyone's evil to her. And I'm so glad she stood up to the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, everybody here kind of sucks. And it's like, get out of my house. It's like, okay, fine, I'll leave.
So Lady Margaret invites Maggie for this to have drinks. Basically, that's what they did. But we were all worried that Maggie wasn't going to survive, and I think Maggie was nervous as well. She looked very scared. She took one bite of this sweet treat, this Italian treat, which it was interesting. She was like, "Hey, I brought you some of these new Italian treats. Even though they're from Italy, you should still try it." Like, she was throwing shade towards Italy, and I was like, bring them on if it was me. So Maggie's scared, and Margaret starts to grill her and then accuse her of basically being a traitor, just like her cousin, who's the one who's sparking up this unrest. And then also Henry also blamed Maggie for the death of his wife, saying it was your fault for making her mad. This is why she died. So Maggie is getting all the blame everywhere from all sides.
For her, it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Like, there's no winning for her.
She can't do anything right.
Yeah. But during that conversation, did you think Maggie was going to spill the beans and be like, yes, I saw blood on the sheets, I saw everything? Or did you think that she was going to do what she did and it was kind of like keep information to herself?
I think I kind of feel like it was characteristic what she did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that under different circumstances, I think she would be honest. Like if maybe the church was grilling her about it.
Yes.
But with the Queen Mother, I think
she's like, I don't like her anyway.
Yeah, I don't like her. I don't need to give this information right now.
Right.
So I think it was characteristic. I kind of felt like she would handle it that way.
Yeah, and basically pleading the fifth. It's like, I'm out. Like, please don't get me involved in this.
Right.
I can only do so much. But I loved how Lady Margaret was like, you've had sex. You know what's going on. Like, don't pretend like you don't know
Don't
what
be
sex
coy.
look like. You know, she was like, you do know. Which was great because it was so in character.
Yeah. Maggie's cousin, Edward de la Poole, is the one who's stirring up this unrest. And Maggie ends up, after this drinks night with Margaret, she gets sent away as well.
I thought she was going to die then, too.
Me too.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, they're sending her somewhere to die.
Those faces, though. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So, did you guys?
They're the worst.
Those masks?
The masks.
I know. So did you guys ever see the movie Eyes Wide Shut? With Tom
Yes.
Cruise
Yes.
and Nicole Kidman,
yeah.
and it was kind of like about the Illuminati. That's what those masks remind me of, like those kind of crazy secret society situations. So I was like, oh no, poor Maggie, here we go again.
They're plague masks of protecting those
You've
quote
said
unquote doctors. But I was worried for her too of not only, being kidnapped, but then she's like, this is a house of sickness. I'm like, oh great, they're gonna throw her in a room that it doesn't even matter if anyone's there, but if there was some kind of like
The
plague
sweats
disease
or something.
Yeah, and then she'd just die anyways. Or your kids didn't die, so we'll make you die of the same thing. I'm like, oh great, what's
what
gonna
I was
happen
thinking.
now?
That's exactly what I thought they were doing. I thought they were putting her in there. They were just going to leave her until she got sick and died.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
really surprised.
But I'm kind of glad then they didn't, because we
Yeah.
quote and go, that's totally what's going to happen. They didn't go, oh, it's the brother. But that makes sense of a way to secretly, or cousin, sorry, to show up and be like, hi, sorry for the theatrics.
Right.
But historically, doesn't she get executed eventually? I feel like
eventually.
eventually they kill her off.
But eventually, so does Edmund too. When
they're
it's under King Henry VIII.
So we'll get
Yes.
into more of those types of special tips in our Keeping It Real segment. So Maggie, before she gets killed in real life, tells her cousin, listen, I can't, join you in this fight that you have. I have children, and please don't contact me again. Leave me be.
And she wants them to live.
Yes.
Keywords.
But also, Maggie is all alone because her husband, Richard, when she was sent away by Lady Margaret, ends up staying. Now, why did her husband seem like he was mad at her?
Because he is mad. Like
He thinks she did something wrong.
he thinks she didn't tell the truth. Because
Yeah.
I think he knows what's really going on. Because of course husband and wife are gonna like tell the truth. But I think he's now like, what happened? Because you couldn't, say what you need to say. I'm at risk, our kids are at risk, and he's like,
Or
I'm
he
gonna be in
wants
the
her to
good.
lie, because at other times,
That's what I
remember,
think.
he's like, hey, you say this to make up with the family and everything. So I think it's one of those, she made waves when he's just like,
Trying to
smooth
survive.
it over.
Yeah.
And so he's mad at her, which I was like, okay, fine.
Which I was
he's all
mad.
peace out.
I was mad at him because I was like, if they sent her off to die, like, did he know? Like, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
was
that
like,
too.
he knew his wife was gonna die, but I guess he didn't.
No.
So
Sorry.
No, I think basically his whole thing was he didn't trust her too. And so even if he didn't think anything was happening, he assumed that she was in contact with Edmund and
Yeah,
that
'cause
she
he
was
goes,
part
it's your family. It's not his family. It's your family.
and
That's interesting.
And so they like made that whole little mini scene about him warning her to like cut it before anything started, because he was probably hearing some of the rumors too and assumed that she was in on it.
Because he's privy to different information
Yeah.
than she is. Because it just confused me because it was uncharacteristic of him. And for
Yeah,
all
he's been loyal so far.
Yeah, they've been like a team. And this time he was like, peace out. You didn't do anything to help me, so I got to go.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I was disappointed.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was. It was but everyone's under stress.
Yes.
And you know who else is stressed out? Our young Meg, Princess Meg.
Oh, yeah.
I know. So Meg is prepping to go to Scotland to get married. And she too is mourning the loss of her mother, and now Maggie has been assigned to help her. She was forced to help Meg, and she was told, "Listen, you denied my daughter a mother. Now you kind of
Oh, yeah, that was
take the role."
major shit.
that was
harsh.
so,
It's like, ouch.
Yeah, he was like, I guess
like,
you're all
yeah,
she's gonna get.
I guess it'll be fine. It's like, damn.
So we have this young girl prepping to marry this grown man, and I guess everything is contingent upon when the wedding dress gets prepared. And as she's trying on her dress, she asks Maggie, will it hurt?
Oh, that was
I was like, oh, so she's nervous about her wedding night and having sex for the first time. I was like, it reminded me that how young she is and inexperienced, and it was sad because you really see she doesn't have a mother to ask these questions to. What do you guys think of that scene?
It was really, I loved how Maggie answered it as truthfully as she could.
Yeah.
She was like, okay,
She didn't
well,
sugarcoat it, but she was like, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, well, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but then you'll like it, and even
You
though
hope for her.
yeah, you hope, but it was like, okay. I mean, I guess that's as comforting as it can get from somebody in that situation.
I like the thing too of tying into her mother's dress too, of like your mother wore this, and oh, you didn't know, and kind of smoothing it over. Then I like kind of that way of carrying her mom's tradition on. I thought that was cute. And it was a way to honor her mother's legacy and essentially have her mother with her, too.
Yes. And did you find it interesting that Elizabeth had a red wedding dress?
Yeah.
Was that, I'm not sure.
We talked about white wedding dresses were not common yet on one of our other episodes.
Yeah, it was Queen Victoria
that
did it the first, was one of the first to do it, and she really set the tradition.
Got it.
But, I mean, people occasionally had them.
Okay.
Well, because this one they made the point that they're like, okay, well, they want a matching outfit. But I thought I like the idea of adding the color pop, because we do that with I've seen some wedding dresses today where it's like, it's white and then has a strip like across the top or the back or somewhere where it's a nice pop of color. But yeah, I'm glad they pointed that out again, because we're like, well, technically.
Yeah.
But I like that she has spirit, that she goes, well, I hope we don't have to dress the same all the time. That's creepy.
I like her character because she brings that youthful energy and that comedic timing to the show. Speaking of the fashions of the day, we'll also be talking about some fashion tricks that the royals currently use in our news and gossip segment, so stay tuned. Maggie gets the dress made. I'm sorry, Meg. There's a Meg, there's a Maggie, there's everyone with an M name. So Meg gets the dress made, and she goes to see her father, and she brings him a piece of the dress. I thought that was really sweet.
I felt bad for her. If she's leaving and she's lost her mother and essentially lost her father almost at the same time.
Because he's lost his mind.
And I like that he's like, grief is like waves in the ocean. And you go, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And when he comes out, when she's leaving, I was so happy for her. I was like, oh, good. He can like send her off of like, no, I love you. And it's fine. And which seems to give her that last little morale boost that she needed of, this sucks, but at least, the people I care about are here. But I kind of was like, oh, Catherine's not going to wave goodbye, because they had their moments too.
Yeah.
But at least they kind of did get to say goodbye a little earlier.
Don't let it... don't let a man dictate your life.
Yeah.
So that was cute.
Yeah.
Get their little time.
Speaking of men, let's talk about Harry a little bit more in this episode, because he goes through some ups and downs. Like
mood swings. They say ladies have mood swings. This boy does. My goodness.
We start off the episode with him being so excited about being married, exclaiming to everyone, the wedding is in June. He's got a date set. Okay.
Yes.
Unlike many other men.
He's bridezilla.
Yeah, right. He's ready with the date, to his grandmother's dismay. And when he comes to Catherine and brings her that banner, was that the family banner?
I saw it as a pomegranate, which is for a symbol of Spain.
Oh, okay. It looked like a flower to me.
Because I think it was in, like, when you open it, it's white like that. That's what I thought was
it's like
inside of
that.
it.
Pomegranate.
Look at that. Pomegranate tattoo.
Este España. The tattoo is. But yeah, that's what I thought, because that was his sign of like, I care about Spain enough. And it was like a flowering pomegranate, which made sense of like, like here, our new budding romance and, planting a seed, as it were, later.
It made me think about the Starks. From Game of Thrones when I saw that banner.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this him giving her his family's banner, like saying, okay, take down the old one, here's the new one, because you're about to be part of the family. So I thought that was very sweet. But also him visiting her was kind of an act of rebellion, because he went to the slums basically, and to an area where he got in a fight on the way there. And so he's a scrappy guy. He's not like the posh guy. He can get down and dirty with it, which I like.
Yeah, and he's also, for somebody who's his age too, he is a lot more street smart than you would imagine for not only someone his age, but also someone of his position.
Right.
He's very, like, he's ahead of the game, and he's like, for as young as he is, you can't play him because he knows how to play.
Yeah. We have in the chat, Caitlin Array says Henry VIII's symbol had a Tudor rose enclosing Catherine's pomegranate. So yeah, I feel that was him
combo.
of the pomegranate in Spain connection. And then the seeds are we're to be plentiful like many children, which makes sense of his later of like, yes, together, this is our symbol. I think it was also his gesture of like, no, we're still in this.
Yeah, and even though my grandmother has sent you away, I still love you, and we're still going through with our plan.
And it's because in Granada, Granada in Spanish means pomegranate.
Look at that. Learning so much today. Catherine says to him that, she's living in the dark, and he's like, you know what, we're all in the dark and we're all waiting. So I liked how patient he was. Like Catherine was the one that was a little like, let's get the ball rolling with this, because she knew that the clock was ticking. Her mother sends her a letter saying, you should come back home. And she's like, no, I'm not coming back, and burns the letter. I was like, darn, like she's really really wanting this to happen.
Even the tone in the mother's letter, in Isabella's letter, was like, yeah, come on, we all know that the marriage isn't going to happen. So just come back.
I like the metaphor, and literal, like she felt like her mother's presence, because you could see that in the shot kind of blurry behind her, and she like turns around and yells like, no, I'm going to do this. So she continues to forge her path of like, nope, I had a goal. I'm going to make this goal happen.
And that's why I was surprised the mother's letter said, come home.
Yeah.
Because I thought, as a fellow strong woman and the woman who influenced her daughter, she would be like, no, stick with the plan. This is what I fought for. This is why people got killed. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Harry also takes Catherine hunting, and they each kill 4 birds, was it?
Yeah.
The pheasants, maybe?
And I love the fact that he, whatever bird she kills, Harry implies that it was a young bird, and that's why it was so easy. And that's why, it seems like her prey is always going to be young.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm just like, come on, man. You like wrote her love letters behind your brother's back.
Right.
Like, don't play innocent victim.
Right.
You know, that was the only thing that I was like, I don't know. I mean, I see that like your grandma's in your ear, but you're not that innocent.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Speaking of grandma.
That was him being pouty.
Yeah. Grandma.
Yeah, he was totally pouting.
She's grandma's a trip. She has also now tried to get Oviedo on her side.
Yeah.
That was good.
I was like,
She's like, I learned Spanish too.
props to her for still keeping, up with the trends of the time, and increasing her knowledge, but also it's only because she wants to know everything that's going on.
Yeah, that totally shows how cunning she is. Like, she is gonna be so cutthroat.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, who really is in charge here?
Yeah. I think so. While Rosa and Stafford are off making out, and having their affair.
Making babies.
Yeah. As we'll see. Lina and Oviedo are trying to figure out their relationship. He even kind of proposes, like, what if this house was ours? What if we had children here? And she seems open to the idea, but then when he invites her on a date later on, she's like, I can't, she's like, what do you want from me? I can't do this. I can't be with you again. And then he's like, well, I've been offered a job elsewhere. And she's like, please don't go. So there's a lot of back and forth, which must be frustrating for him. But do you...
For both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So then Henry comes out from the dark and announces that, oh, yes, there will be a wedding, but it's going to be him to Catherine.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh.
My mouth fell open.
What?
Yeah, I was like, well, now it's finally getting good. Like, I was so excited. I was like, okay, game on, because that's going to piss off Harry.
Oh, yeah. He storms away.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just, and I guess in my mind, I'm already thinking of Henry VIII as Henry VIII, So I'm like, what is going to happen now?
Yeah.
I was like, is he going to die? Is the king going to, how is this going to go? Yeah, never mind. I changed my mind.
Well, that was the full episode. Overall, I thought it started off slow, but then it got good in the end. So I was really excited I'm excited to talk about predictions coming up soon. Let's get into our special segment, Keeping It Real.
Okay, where do I even start? There is a lot. So I went through this whole timeline that I found online, and I had to do a TLDR, too long didn't read, in case anyone doesn't know what that means.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, just to this goes back a couple episodes, but Catherine did not attend Arthur's funeral because that is, back then, that was a royal tradition. You did not, a female did not go to their husband's funeral.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I happened to stumble across that wanted to mention. Henry VII never wanted to marry Catherine. It was never suggested. It never happened. What did happen is that in reality, it wasn't the Queen Regent, Lady Grandmother. It was not her who was against the marriage of Catherine and Harry. It was actually Henry VII who was really against it. And the only reason he kept her around was because of her dowry. Another thing to understand, too, is that Catherine's mother, Isabella II, was from Castile, and I am sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but she helped unite Spain by marrying Ferdinand, and that is why that's why Henry VII wanted Catherine around, because it was a sign of the united Spain, which would help England. But apparently that did not last when Isabella II died, and so King Henry VII did not need Catherine anymore, and he already had like some of her dowry, so he didn't need her. So he was really set against basically setting her back. She had already married Harry by this time, but she married him when he was a minor. And so King Henry VII tried to say that the marriage didn't count because Harry wasn't old enough to marry her.
Oh, wow.
But then he died of tuberculosis, and as soon as he died in June, so that was right, what Harry said, in June of 1509, Catherine did end up, Harry officially proposed to her. She also did not really speak English well until 1509.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
She used the body language as in, like a little mermaid. Can't speak, use body language.
Language of love.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes. That was great. So we also have some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
We do. Okay, so for all of you royal watchers, they have select fashion tips. I'm also a fashion lover myself, and so we're gonna actually post it online, but some of my favorite fashion tips that we have from Cosmo are they use a clutch to cover their cleavage when they get out of a car, which I feel like that's so smart because they don't want, you're leaning out. So like Princess Di was actually like one of the first to start this trend, and they still continue it. Also about the clutch, they use it because they don't have to shake hands with people. This is just a side note that I know, because you cannot reach out. They have to reach out to you first. So that's why they're always holding their clutches. And other weird things about the bags. Queen Elizabeth, when she switches her bag from one side to the other, that like tells people, okay, she's ready to leave, or she doesn't want to talk to somebody anymore. So she has all kinds of cues just with her purse.
Yeah.
And the other one that I find so helpful is they put weights on their dresses. And like I had never thought about that, but there's like little tiny weights so they don't fly up, which there have been several times with Catherine. I love her, but she has had a very windy slip up, and the paparazzi have taken photos of that, exposing her, and then the palace has to like pay off them so that they don't print them. But anyway, so that is one other tip that they have, is to always put weights on your dress, and there are links in Amazon to get those for your dress, because I would like that too sometimes.
It's a good idea.
I've had that Marilyn Monroe moment. If you're not wanting it, and get the weights.
I love the truthfulness of the suggested ads for looking at fashion are like ladies' undergarments.
Right.
But if you guys want to read more fashion royal tips, you can go ahead and click the link below.
Yeah.
So we'll put that down in the description underneath, and we'll tweet it as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we'll get into some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I'll start with you, ladies.
So
It's about to get good. That's all I can say. I can't wait.
well, we already know the king dies, but I'm curious how fast that will happen.
But is he gonna die?
They might not have him die the same way then.
That's
but
the thing. Like,
that's the only way I could see him go. Because he can't retract his statement. He can't go, just kidding. So I think he can't go, just kidding, I'm going to hand her off to my son. Because then that makes everybody look weird. So I feel the king's going to die in maybe the next episode or two.
Okay.
Might be quick.
Oh, I'm really excited for this drama, because I feel like Harry is not about to go down without a fight.
No, yeah.
And we're about to see some, I don't know, something with Oviedo. I feel like, I don't know if he's gonna like take grandma's side and become a spy. I feel like that there was just something in, like a glimmer in his eye, like he
was a little grumpy. So
she might not take me, so there's this other opportunity.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to like give a prediction because I'm with you guys. I don't know, like considering that they've already changed what actually happened.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they're going to actually divert from history. So if they're going to even go remotely close, let's just pretend that they're not.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I think sword fight. I think father-son battling it out. I think that...
A duel to see who rules them all. Yeah.
And then I think that Catherine is going to start to see, like, a really, really scary side of Harry. Like, I feel like it's coming out. I feel like he's going to be, like, a tyrant. And that's where they're going with him in this series.
I
love
it.
Thank you so much. I think Oviedo is possibly going to switch sides, but he's actually going to be a spy for
Double
Catherine.
agent. Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in to The Spanish Princess. Check us out next week right here on AfterBuzz Dramas. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.